available.
This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hey there, it's Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more. And if it's Tuesday, obviously you always have to give to your favorite charities, no matter what they may be. Doesn't matter if it's a public library, the museum, the arts, artists, authors, healers, neuro coaches, you art collectors. You never know. You should always give. You should always donate to those people because everybody needs help. Everybody needs support. And if it's also Tuesday, and it is, there's 160 live shows in a row and counting. Still. So the good thing about this is I've kind of been waiting for this show too. Not only because Stefani's on it, because, I think she was on like 3 months ago, or time just goes quick, Carol, but it's one of those things where I knew Joe was coming on. I'm like, can I squeeze him in? Is it about Stefani? Well, it's always about women. So, but I'm like, well, they did meet. We can make it work. And I like, let's do it. And so we just never know when we're putting these things together because, after all, we are live on Talk 4 Media, K4 HD Radio, and K4 HD, streaming also on Franklin, Tennessee, iTube247.com, and on over 100 outlets around the world. And yes, I had a feeling we're going to have one of these background noises things going on because I expect the power to go out on me. I hope it does not. I think Howard may have some issues because now he's got to be upstairs because he's got things going on, that major changes in his life for the better, which is always good. Stefani doesn't have her light because, as she would say, something's going on that she doesn't know where it is. And Joe, I don't know what's going on, but he may have something to deal with all of this. But if anything, he could just say a prayer and everything will be good. And when it comes to neuro coaching, you know what? You got to go with it. That's Carol's territory. But the good thing about this, oh man, where do you start? She's that founder. She's that CEO. It's about Love Seek. Well, I should say Seek Love LLC, right, Steph? That's
right.
And I mean, this book, you know what? I'm not even going to introduce you. I want you to talk about you, followed by Joe. Go ahead. You're in the darkness, but you have a lot of light around you. Go ahead, Steph.
Yeah, it's rather rainy in St. Louis right now, but Howard, Brian, Carol, so good to be here with all three of you. And yes, I had quite the love journey in my life. And by the time I was 44, I had been married and divorced twice, looking at myself in the mirror saying, what in the heck just happened? And I decided to throw myself into the study of relationships, what makes them work. I had actually written a first book for young women during COVID because I wanted to help my three daughters and leave a legacy for them. So I wrote a book about helping young women attract healthy relationships. And then last year, Heather Mariana, who a lot of us know of Mariana Events, said, Stefani, you've got to have something at the Academy Awards event in February at the Celebrity Gifting Lounge. What do you have for me? And I was like, I have a second book in me. And that was the catalyst to write Your Love Compass, a woman's unconventional guide to dating and relationships for middle-aged women who've yet to find the love of their life or who, like me, got divorced and did not want to mess up the next go around and attract something that they really desire and deserve, and something that they're worthy of. So even though I have a 25-year background in corporate America, and I work with companies and I coach companies and individuals, I had to follow this passion project to help women, and it turns out now men, attract the love they deserve.
See, and you can't go wrong with that, huh, Carol? Carol, introduce yourself, and you want to go to Joe and then go to Howard.
Hi, I am, as you have mentioned many times, Brian, NeuroCoach Carol. I'm a certified NeuroCoach. I'm the creator of the Neuro Wealth Method. And the cool thing about this is when women have a gap closing the door or jumping from 6 to 7 figures, that's what I do. That's what I'm here for, to lean in and provide the way to jump into greater wealth, because great women deserve great wealth for great impact. And this is a huge part of my own journey. And I love working with the women, the fantastic women that I get to work with. If you'd like to know more about this, please DM me. I would love to talk with you. It is an immersive, exclusive, private program. So I'll look forward to that. And Brian, as I always say, being here with you each and every week has been absolutely magical, as well as being able to co-host the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast. So thanks for having me.
And then Joe, that intuitive healers. I'm always about healers. I love my Charmin, Joya Delaney, and the new ones that have followed. I utilize all of them. Even Lisa out of Orange County, she
Sure.
she will call me and say, Brian, you got someone coming in. Don't you dare look for her. Just allow it to come and let it come. And I said, okay, I'm not looking. I pretend I'm not looking. We'll just go with it. And I do. So Joe, introduce yourself, because we met at Heather's gifting suite also.
Sure, exactly. Well, this is what it looks like to be 26 years past the expiration date. 9 of the best doctors treating the condition I had knew that I had less than a year to live back in 1999. And luckily, like my mom said, I didn't pay attention to the rules then either. And I met an incredible Shaolin master healer. And after the second hour session with his students, I no longer needed the oxygen, which I was needing for almost 2 years. And after the third, I was completely healthy. I studied with him for 3.5 years solid. And then also a friend took me to the reservation in Wisconsin, and an elder took me aside there. And I was blessed to sit in a number of Native American ceremonies and learn quite a bit. And that's really where I connected to Spirit Creator. And I can see the absolute best things about everybody. I can see your talents, your gifts, why you were born, and I can see all the blocks there as well. And for 26 years now, I've been helping people. Actually, no, not 24 years. I've been helping people eliminate very, very serious pains and illnesses. And when I lived in Minnesota, the Mayo Clinic started to get to know who Joe in the cities was, because a lot of my clients would go down there, they would get their diagnoses, and they would come to me, and they would go back down to the Mayo, and they wouldn't need the surgeries or the procedures. And so that's what I like to do. And then, like Carol and Stefani, I work a lot with women, and I specialize in helping women recover from abusive relationships and to be able to find their own true desires, often for the very first time, and then helping them feel safe in themselves, their body, and their future, and really feel their purpose and have the most fun they've ever had. So,
And as you would weigh, it's called supporting you, and as you would also say, unlock your highest potential, right?
yes.
And I just love, you got to be in line. And I talked to Terry about this, my co-host. It is about your mind. It is about your body. It is about the spirit. It is about energy flow. You don't have energy flow. You don't have a lot of things going on. It's just not going to work. I don't believe in that. It doesn't matter if you don't believe in that. That's what universal law is. We don't control that.
Yeah, and that's something too. A lot of people think mindset. And it's like, okay, I help you after the mindset or before if you want, because my youngest client was a 6-week-old baby, and my oldest was a 16-hand Percheron, which is a huge horse. So I'm pretty darn sure that neither of those guys had any idea about mindset. So energy is energy, and it's something where we have to be able to get that on the path to be able to have things really unfold.
Oh, I love that, Joe. I just want to say one of the things, being a neuro coach and using a neuroscience-based process, we're integrated beings, right? I love the quote by JFK where he said, a rising tide raises all boats. And we're not separated into these different parts. When we go to work in any one area and we get into alignment, all areas elevate, right? So I've actually been changing the way that I say things instead of just brain and thought. It's body, mind, spirit. It's all of us. It's frequency, it's energy. So I really love what you're saying.
Thanks. Yeah, I think there's too many people that are treating their lives and their energy like Jenga. They think they can take apart here and take apart there, and it's not going to affect anything. But it's just like, no, it does. Our bodies basically need the first, the second, the third, or the chi, however you look at it. And so we can't take those parts and say, that doesn't matter, or I've given that up, And Stefani knows it too. It's like when a woman says, "Oh, I've given up dating. I don't need to do that," or pleasure is too much trouble. She knows it's like, danger, danger.
Hey, Stephanie, hold that thought. I could see it on your face because I know where well, maybe I don't know where you're coming from, but let's maybe bring Howard in for a while. Howard, introduce yourself. Let's see what your sound is like. Go ahead.
All right, I'm Howard Wiggins. Like it says, I'm one of the top world's 35 interior designers. I created a style called Stacked and Layered. My newest thing is I'm going to go to Chattanooga and I'm going to change in my life again, start a new project. I'll keep you all informed on it as it goes along. But, life's in all these little segments of your life, and I'm toward the end of it, but I'm going to go out with a bang, and that's what I'm planning to do. So I'll keep you all.
You're young, for God's sake. You're not near the end, for crying out loud.
72 is kind of near the end.
Not these days, Howard. It just isn't. Not these days.
Another quarter left,
Yeah.
That's right. Especially with all the dancing you do, Howard.
Yeah, but my knees are starting to hurt now.
But here's the thing, talking about energy, Stephanie. Howard, when you walk into the room, when you walk into the dance floor, or someone sees you, they are automatically attracted to you. Stephanie, when you were writing, your love compass, I don't know. Well, it was coming from your experience of what you were coming from, but I deal out a lot of energy. So we were talking briefly yesterday and a couple of things that were going on, which I love what you were saying. Talk about that. Talk about being part of Deb Drummond's 362 mission accepted, because that's important also.
Mm-hmm. When we decide with intention to try something new, or to be brave, or to break out of a current paradigm, the energy shifts, but it doesn't just shift for us. It shifts in the world, and it creates like this ripple, so that the people that are meant to come into contact with you can help you along that new journey, that new intention. And when I decided to leave corporate America, I had a sense of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to coach, but I also had to take somewhat of a trust fall. We have to do this with everything. I mean, Howard's taking a trust fall right now at age 72, which is amazing, Howard. Congratulations. We're all taking trust falls, and just, we have to have faith that web, that interconnected web that you were just talking about, Carol, of humanity and spirituality is going to catch us. And so Deb was one of those people. Many people on the show are aware, or listeners are aware of Deb Drummond, her 262 Women's Accepted Project. And I became a speaker in her organization and a leader. And then she asked me to be in her compilation book, which is an incredible book filled with women and their entrepreneurial journeys, but also journeys of survival, of overcoming. And that book ended up in the 2024 celebrity gift bag at the Emmys in the fall of 2024. And I got to go and represent that book. And that launched this whole journey of getting exposed as a coach, of meeting you, Brian, because then it was Heather Mariana and Deb, and then meeting you, and then meeting Carol, and meeting Joe. And it just, I even remarked to my 22-year-old daughter this morning, I said, wow, Carol, I think I hung up on our call, and I looked at my daughter and I said, in 2.5 years, I have just made this incredible network of people who are contributing to my journey and my vision. And so as a love and dating coach, I want women and men to know that when you decide to be courageous, when you decide to put it out there, what it is you really do want, and you give a little bit of trust, the right people, it could be a random cousin you haven't seen in years who sees you and says, I never thought about this woman for you, but I think I should introduce you. We're called to help each other because we're all connected with that energy.
Yeah. Stephanie, it's super interesting too, because the minute that, in complete alignment with what you're saying, the minute that you took the action, the trustful action, I like that word. That's a really interesting word. And I'd love to hear more about why you chose that word. That you literally said, once you made the decision, before you did any other action, you automatically experienced a shift in that moment. And I'd love for you to talk about that.
I love what you call out, Carol, like trust fall, because I don't know why I picked that word, maybe consciously, but I think for me, it represents a letting go of the how. I think as humans, we really try to control the outcome. And we can talk ourselves out of something absolutely miraculous because we can't see the how. We can't see how it would possibly happen. So I think back to those early camp days as a kid, or you would do the trust fall with the Girl Scouts or whatever, and everyone would catch you. Mm-hmm. And I think it can be a beautiful analogy of letting go of the how and just having the trust and faith that if your intentions are good and they're coming from a good place and they do no harm to others, and in fact, they add to others, that you will be caught. There will be arms and energy to catch you. So I think that's probably why it came to mind, Carol. Great question.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I like it, because Napoleon Hill talks about it that way. Wallace Wattles talks about it that way. Neville Goddard, they all talk about the fact that once you can actually really give in to that creator is going to be there, and that you trust in creator, and that you and creator have decided to be like that, then everything can be possible. That's awesome.
Beautiful.
I'm experiencing that right now, because since I made my decision to do what I'm doing, every day I wake up and somebody is connecting that's going to help me, or I think of an idea or something that just keeps pointing in that direction. You made the right choice. I mean, I'm getting connected to people. Things are happening. It's like, I know I made the right decision because it's changing every day toward that direction. Mm-hmm. So you're right.
I couldn't be happier for you, Howard.
Thank you.
So Steph, I love these photos.
It's a lot of headshots.
He's got it in a minute. I wanted to get to these photos because I love these photos of her. And the reason why I bring this up, first of all, Carol, I forgot. Usually Carol will remind me. We got to thank Easy Way, Easy Way Family, Easy Way Podcast, Easy Way TV Worldwide. And Joe is on that. He'll talk about that in a minute. But when I walked into the gifting suite, I saw Carol Gosselin, who was on our show last week. Her booth stood out. It was all yellow. And Stephanie's, her book, I see her book first, and then I see her. Her book just stands out. It's magnificent. And these pictures just add, and I love that one of your daughter, because I'm like, wow, she's got a great looking, I think I've seen one picture of the daughter, I think, but they're like, it's just like a mirror reflection of you. And there's Deb Drummond, and obviously with Joe's photos, I love him. And he's going to talk more about what happened to him to where he is today. But Deb, take it away. I'm sorry, Stephanie, take it away from this, because you've been doing a lot of things. And I didn't call you on purpose because I knew you were having fun, taking your trip and just being with your family. And I thought that was great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, the one picture of my middle daughter and I started a tradition with my 3 girls that
I love that one.
Thank you. I take them somewhere special for their 16th birthday. So that was shot in Turks and Caicos in May for her 16th. And, we can create the lives that we want. And I think when my daughters were younger, I was a very involved mom, but I wasn't intentionally co-creating for them, with them. And I started to lean in when my oldest turned 15 to just ask her, what do you really want? Because no one had ever asked me that. I was the rule follower, the people pleaser, I'll do everything right and perfect. I'm part of Carol's coaching group. I'm really proud to say that. And I will say that she can probably tell that I'm like like it's in me, right? And there are a lot of us who were born to kind of please. And so sometimes it doesn't happen till middle life where we say, wait a minute, what is it that I want? And so I appreciate you letting me share some pictures of my family, Brian, because I wanted to be intentional with my daughters. I want them to know early on that they do have influence and can co-create their destiny. Even though my youngest is 12, she's like, what kind of power do I have? And then we actually talk about, well, what kind of power do you have? And then she starts to realize, oh, wow, I've got power just to decide how I feel when I wake up and how I'm going to show up in the world in 6th grade. So that's been beautiful. And then there is a picture of my partner, Joe. After those 2 divorces, I decided to get deliberate about what I wanted and what I deserved and carefully crafted that. And that's what I teach to women. And it's always still a surprise, it's not that you create this woman in a box or a man in the box who's the perfect partner. Nobody's perfect, but you draw in the perfect complement to you who will help you grow when you really start to do the work of peeling back who you are. And so Joe's been now with me, not this Joe Petroski's wonderful, but I met my Joe 4.5 years ago. And so we've been together ever since. And sometimes I still weep because he's so kind to me. Mm-hmm. And I deliberately asked for kind, but I didn't know how much I was missing kind my whole life.
Oh, that's a good one. I got to put that on my list too, because those things are important, isn't it, Joe? Isn't it, Stephanie?
Totally.
And Carol knows this too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pick on Terry because she's not here because of what she's going through. I'm like, Terry, you're going to be fine financially. Never mind that. It's what you need to have attracted to you. Stop focusing on the negative and just be open and receptive to just good things coming your way. And because the more you focus on something, the more it magnifies and intensifies. Right, Joe?
Yeah, but as Stephanie was talking about desire and really connection to it, most women rate themselves 5th in the order of importance. They're going to have their significant other, their children, their career, their pets, and then themselves. And so, yes, most of the clients that I have, they're, in their 50s and 60s, where I ask them, what's your desire? And if they can't mention their kids, if they can't mention their loved ones or their family, they don't know. And so it's really good that Stephanie is pointing out. It's like, okay, you got to come in here for a little bit. It's like, what is my desire? What do I really want to be able to create and attract? And it's really kind of a scary question sometimes because people have never done that, especially women. Women have been, you have to serve everybody else. You have to answer everybody else's questions first. And so, that's, putting it out there. And this is the part where when people say, oh, just do your affirmations. It's like, okay, well, hold on a second. What the heck is in between? What's that block in between your heart, your creation, and the things that you desire? We have to get rid of that. And,
we have to connect, Joe. We have to connect because one of the first things that I do, Stephanie, I'll tell you in the program, is we look at vision from a bunch of different angles, from a bunch of perspectives, because we're multifaceted people, right? And it's really easy just to say, oh, I have a vision or a dream, without realizing that there's different aspects and facets that's going to bring even more clarity. And, the affirmations too, we take a really unique approach rather than just doing affirmations and repeating those, because as you're well aware, I can't wait to talk with you even further. It's something where we can easily be putting in somebody else's plan over our life, somebody else's voice over our life. We can easily be wiring in cognitive bias without even realizing it. And then our brain's going, wait, which way do I go? And our whole body, our whole system, our spirit as well. I want to keep practicing speaking into that because that's truly what I believe. But I think that's so important to let us know that clarifying and looking and defining things is so powerful and interesting. And how important is it that we put ourselves as women fifth on the list?
Mhm.
Like, it's amazing to me.
Howard,
What
you're going to say
about
something.
Yeah, what about options? Because I think every day you have an option to go left, right, whatever you want to do. And sometimes when you're on a path and you just keep following that path, you need to get off that path, take another path and see what that income is, what that outcome is, not the income, outcome is.
Could
It's
be
like,
both.
and if you're on the right path, it seems like it's guiding you rather than you're trying to guide it. You know, it's directing you to go that direction. But I think a lot of women, like you said, they're trying to be a mother or wife and all these things, and they're not listening to their path, what your body and your soul is telling you you should do. You're listening to what you're expected to do or what you think you ought to do rather than what you want to do. I do a lot of sales, and I tell people all the time, I don't like Pinterest and things like that, because what happens is Pinterest is like everybody saying, this is what you should do. This is what you got to follow. But I tell my clients, it's like, and I talk to mainly women. So I said, if you wanted to go to their ball and you wanted a red dress, you're only looking at red dresses and you're looking for that one that may or may not exist. There may be a beautiful blue or purple or something that looks fabulous on you, but you will not see it because you're not opening your eyes to see all the possibilities and what's the best. You're focusing on what you think you ought to get rather than what your options are to get. That's the same type of scenario, I think.
Yeah. Hidden in plain sight, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Howard, talk about your relationship with your wife.
My wife's very complimentary. We're so much alike. We've been together nearly 50 years. I can go shopping, and she's a little bit handicapped. So sometimes I go in first and I'll go around looking because I have to get her out of the car. I'd be darned. I could go anywhere. I could say out of 1,000 things in the shop, I like 2 things. Not tell her anything about it. Then she comes in with me. She'll pick those exact same things. You know,
Wow.
we're so compatible and so much know how each other thinks, and we talk all the time. You know, of course, we're our best friends. So it's just a part of you. I mean, that comes with relationships and being with somebody for a long time. And you know how they think. So I think that's what that is.
Stephanie, we've started to talk a little bit about the future book that you're going to be writing for men. Can you talk about a little bit of that?
So it's starting with, so I've had more and more men coming to me just in my community, people I'm connected to, saying, hey, you know, I'm 45, I'm 50, I'm 55. And I didn't think that I would be having to date at this age, right? They're divorced, or unfortunately their spouse passed away, or just, I know several men who still have never met a woman and, you know, isn't blessed like Howard and his wife. And so I've realized, okay, I can take the same principles. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. So I can take these same principles that I teach women, but shift them into masculine, the masculine needs, the masculine energy, which I've actually spent many years studying. The Man Talks podcast is a really good one with Connor Beaton. He really delves into spiritual things about men. And so I've followed him and listened to him for years, and others. And so now I'm starting, Brian, with a group. I'm putting together a group of men who've said, I don't mind being in a group. I kind of want to hear what the other guys are saying. Stephanie, I want to learn from you. I'm good with being in a group. I mean, these are some emotionally intelligent men. They are emotionally intelligent enough to say, I need some help because what I'm doing isn't working and I'm lonely and I really want companionship. So I'm going to start with that, Brian, and I'm going to let that be a grounds for research. And then I think that will inform hopefully a very intelligent and insightful book for men from a woman's perspective, working with men in 2026. That would be the goal. So you've put it out there, Brian. You put it out there. You just threw it down.
I liked it. I really do like it. I might even join that men's group. I'd like to hear what they'd have to say, you know. And the reason why I say that, because I've always been married to my career. I've always said this. I was a married bachelor to my career. Now I'm putting that aside because of the goals that we achieve. And by the way, we reached 800 million views. What was it?
Wow.
800 million, 804,942 views today,
Wow, that's
July 8th. That's our
Congratulations.
total.
wow.
And the only reason I was counting, because the last time I did the number was in April. It was because Howard kind of put it into my head. And he was been talking about what's been moving because he texted me something. Did you say something about me? Because something's been going on. I said,
Yeah.
we're always talking about everybody. And I have always said this, you never know who's listening around the world. But they do chime in and they tell me from different versions of people around the world. And I think that's great. And Carol hears that because when you come on our movie reviews and more, you're supposed to get something out of us. Sometimes it's the second time. Sometimes a lot of times it's the first time, but sometimes it's the third time. And then you become part of what we're doing. Joe, talk about this. We have a lot of people that have had lost. Terry's lost her mom. So I talked to last night. I talked to her for like an hour. I'm 3 hours ahead of her. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina right now.
Yeah.
Talk about people that are experiencing grief.
Our
As we get
engineer.
older, a lot of people are going through things right now. What do you say?
Well, one of the things is that we have to really remember that we are all of our ages. We're that 1-year-old child, that 2-year-old child, the 3-year-old, the 18-year-old, all the way, all the different ages. And so when we have an event and we think that it's happening today, it's triggering all the times that were anything like it, any other loss that we had. And so we have to be able to be really, really patient but go underneath it. And it's like, okay, what's the real thing that's hurting me real bad? And, so thinking about it, it's like, what's the loss that I feel? And that's something that takes a little bit of digging. But when you understand, okay, yes, my mom has passed. Okay, but, what is the ache that's in there? And there's going to be a belief. What's the belief? And it's like, I'm never going to find anybody that's going to be able to listen to me again. I'm never going to be able to find anybody that understands me again. When we can look at that and we can say, it's like, okay, hey, chill, you're going to be okay. That's when we can actually start to do the repair. But if we sit there because I know somebody that's completely, totally hung up on her husband's grief. And she's a wonderful woman, very, very successful. But everybody is just dropping away because the only thing that she can do is she just always relates it to her husband's grief. And I'm just like, it's not about your husband. It's something where you just don't know if you'll ever be able to have somebody sit shoulder to shoulder with you and really get you. And I said, that goes all the way back to when you were a kid, when nobody understood you. So we have to be able to heal that. So today's experience is not that bad. And it's a really interesting way to look at it. And it doesn't by any way minimize the true loss of her husband. But we want to look to see, it's like, okay, you're an incredible go-getter. There's not a darn thing that you cannot accomplish. You help loads and loads of other people accomplish. As middle manager that went higher, everybody relies on you. So what's up in here? What's the thing that's missing? And having the guts to look at that, that's when the change can happen.
And you could also experience loss from a relationship, right, Stephanie? And a lot of times people they'll be hung up on that and they won't be able to meet that other person because for the same thing that same reason was just talking about. That happens that way too, right?
It does. I mean, Joe, please add, but I know that I didn't properly mourn my first marriage ending. I just put on my can-do face. I've got this. I had a daughter, we had a daughter together, and I'll be strong and I'll throw myself into my career. And then as I went and started dating again, I married my second husband, looked completely different from my first husband on the outside. But basically what I did was repeat a pattern because I hadn't healed. I hadn't properly mourned it. I hadn't properly let go of what I needed to let go and really dig into the learning. Joe, I'd love for you to expand on that because there are men and women alike who repeat those same relationship cycles, even though the next partner they choose looks different, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they have a completely different career, different background, but it's a cycle that repeats. Could you elaborate on that, Joe?
A number of years ago, I actually ended an engagement. I called it quits. And 2 weeks after I had called it quits and ended it, I was crying and I was losing weight, couldn't eat. And I was looking in the mirror and it's like, okay, I know this feeling. I know this feeling. What is it that I'm feeling? Why am I upset? Because I knew that it had to end. And I looked in the mirror and I kept on asking, it's like, what is this feeling? And all of a sudden, and I traced it back, all of my relationships, the women loved me like crazy until they abandoned me or betrayed me. And and so I traced it back, it's like, oh my God. And I got all the way to the point when I was 4 years old, when there was a time that my mom, I was her everything. My dad worked on the road. And so when he was gone, I did everything. We had tea together. I ironed the clothes with her. I went with her girlfriends. I did shopping. And then when my dad came home, she just ignored me completely. She literally just shoved me out of the chair, and I was no more. I was nothing. I didn't matter. And I was completely oblivious. And then, it was something else that when my dad wanted more affection than she was willing to give at the time, she found a way that she would actually tell my dad that I had done something wrong. So she would betray me, and she loved me until she betrayed me. And I found that that was a key in my relationship. And so when we continue to date the same person in different packages, we got to find out what that original wound is. What the heck was the magnet in me that continued to attract incredible people that loved me like crazy and abandoned me and betrayed me? And it was hard, but once I did it, then life started to go so much more. And when I work with my clients too, if they're willing to look at that, I think of one right now. She's off having the time of her life, traveling all over Europe with this man that just totally worships her. And she never believed that she was worth time. She never believed that she was worth being heard. And she loves to talk about history. She loves to discover, and she loves to talk about it. But she never found somebody until she had the guts to say, I'm worthy of being listened to. Now she's having the time of her life. I can see you, Carol. What do you want to add? You're saying a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, you're really touching on some deep things here for me in my own life. I lost my brother to suicide in February, and he was, wealthy, successful, all the things, right? Talk about money doesn't buy happiness. It magnifies who you are. So it really, with the grief that's still going on, what you're touching back on is abandonment, is rejection. I feel abandoned by him. Like I can't go to him anymore and talk about, questions I wanted to ask him, learning that I did from him, having him as a friend and a consult, and loving him dearly as my baby brother. So yeah, that's what's coming up for me right now as you're saying these things is, looking back at what's underneath this. What's that thought, what's that belief that's going on?
Yeah, and these are the things that, we think logically. And what I tell my clients a lot of times is we need to discover what we don't know that we don't know. Because all of your wonderful learning, your mindsets, your affirmation, everything that you've done to project yourself and plan this life has gotten you to now. But there's something that we don't know that's holding us back. And how can we discover that? And once we do, it gets so much easier. The load is so much lighter. And then we can actually, have everything that we really have wanted, and can even see more than we ever thought we wanted.
I have a simpler philosophy. I think people come in and out of your life for a reason. Just like we get older, we learn from our mistakes and we can correct them. If you went through a divorce, there was a reason. It was a growing. What did you learn from it? What can you change about it? Don't analyze it where it's making you feel bad. Just move on. And I've always said, if somebody betrays me, that's it. I don't have to like them after that and drop them out of my life. If you're not helping, not necessarily helping me, but bringing me anguish or grief into my life, I don't need you in my life. The old expression, surround yourself with people you admire, people you want to be like. Become the person that you admire. If you hang on to somebody that's bringing you down, you don't need to. Just let it go.
Stephanie, let me ask you this about younger people, especially younger women. And I'm looking at the ages of 16 to 26, 27, what they're going to. A lot of them for 3 to 5 years grew up being a little bit isolated now. Dating is strange. It's not like we can go to the movies these days. It's not like we can go and hang out at the mall. Two of the places where we would go and gather in groups don't really exist anymore. Movie theaters, they're not going to come back, especially with streaming. And malls, when I go to malls cross country, I specifically go, I want to see for myself. Man, when I see between 12 and 23 buildings for lease that used to have Marshalls or Sears and all that stuff, girls would just go to meet other guys or boys. It doesn't exist anymore. What are you seeing, and what's your advice for them?
Well, we have a lot of young women and young men who they're all about, well, depending on how old they were, middle school, high school, during COVID, their phones and social media literally became their lifeline. Sometimes we're hard in our generations, and say, oh, you're always on your phone. But there were studies done that when the phone was taken away during COVID, kids literally felt cut off from the world. So while social media can cause, and there's evidence of it causing depression in teens, and gosh, people our age, right? Depending on how you use social media, these kids were experiencing a new way of operating in the world through technology. So what's interesting is that I'm seeing in my daughters, especially my 16-year-old and even my 22-year-old, because she was in high school during COVID, they date differently. There's a lot of this, like Snapchat and posting photos and quick little chats, which is fine in some ways because they're actually kind of getting to know each other through words more than like the physical hangout. But then I'm seeing that boys don't necessarily know how to approach girls. Like I've watched my 16-year-old have this entire 18-month relationship with a 17-year-old. And I think they've gone out on 3 dates in 18 months. It's all on the phone. It's all on FaceTime. So it's a weird thing. And there are still young men who are raised by moms and dads who say, no, you call up the girl and you actually ask her out. But now we've got safety, right? And so do you really want the boy picking your daughter up in the car? Or do you want them instead to get to know each other through the social chat? It's very different how they're approaching. So I'm looking at how am I going to coach, these kids as they come up? And I think it's still expressing what you want. So I did tell my middle daughter, I'm like, look, at some point you have a right to say, I need to be in person with you. Like I do deserve to meet you for dinner, or I do deserve to grab a coffee with you and have that physical interaction, because it's very tough to have a full-blown relationship on the phone.
Yeah, and also real quick, talk about where your both of your books and where people can get them.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so I use the compass theme in both of my books. The first one is for young women ages 18 to about 27. That is The Love Compass, a girl's guide to finding authentic love. So that's girls. It's white paperback on Amazon. And then the big one is the picture that Brian put up. Thank you. There you go. Your Love Compass, a woman's unconventional guide.
I just love the colors of that. They just stand out. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. There's a lot of work behind that.
Yeah. Very striking.
Just go to Amazon, and I hope, it's the cheapest dating coaching you can get, and it's very impactful.
Joe, talk about energy. I just love that book. I could stare at that for days. It's
a great book. It's a great book. I've read it. Yeah.
Hey, talk about energy and where you see what people need, because being locked down, and then with Bakehouse and then Deb, a lot of us connected different ways, which was nice. I loved how you gave a prayer an energy healing prayer at the start of the Oscar gifting suite at Heather Mariana's event, and I thought that was great. Talk about that and why faith and prayer is still important.
Our intention is the biggest thing. And I knew that there was people from all types of different religions that were there. And so I talk creator, spirit, because that leaves it open to your interpretation. But with the togetherness, when you talked about dating, it's more than just the dating and the energy. The reason that they had 6 feet had nothing to do with biology. Okay, when I was sick, I had to fight 9.5 years, and I was going to doctors for 6.5 years regularly. I had to learn so much about the human body that I can easily debate doctors very, very often, and I know a whole lot more about what's going on. The 6 feet had nothing to do with biology. It had to do with your aura. Most people's auras end at that point. When you get closer than 6 feet, you start to feel that connection. And unfortunately, even now, for people that are huggers and stuff like that, most people are still hugging differently because there's still that little bit of fear in there, that subconscious thing that we had drilled into our head for all of those years. You're going to kill somebody. Somebody's going to kill you. And don't do it. You're breaking the law. I mean, I had a sheriff put his hand on his gun because I went to give a friend of mine a hug at the beach in fresh air. And I'm just like, oh my God. So, so that's about how do we come in and really bring the connection. And the kids, when they're on the phone and stuff like that, what it is there's still this part of being afraid nobody's going to be there for me. So why should I get close? Okay. Because when I needed people there, I couldn't see anybody. So I had to be on my own. I had to push people away. Now date me and love me. It's like, okay, we have to be able to bridge over that gap. We have to be able to get past that. And it's like, how can I see you? How can I feel you? How can I trust you? And all of those, if you look at heartmath.org, they're asking those questions, and it is freaking people out. Bruce Lipton talks about this and is talking about epigenetics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How do we come back to connecting with each other? And, so it's something we have to know our own selves. We have to come into our intuition. We have to be able to come into our, who am I? How do I feel? What do I think? What do I need? And when I have those questions answered, then I'm going to be able to talk with other people. I'm going to be able to communicate with other people. I'm going to be able to ask of other people, and I'm going to be able to be there. But I have to know who I am, what my thoughts are, what my needs are, And, Howard, he talked about this. It's like he and his wife have this connection, this community, the decision to you matter. And by doing that, that's how he's created such success. It was beautiful to listen to him talk about that.
I have to go back to, I think that has to go with self-love and knowing who you are. And I remember when I met my life, I don't deny it. I'm very materialistic, always have been. It's not going to change. And I remember my wife, our first date was to Cheekwood, which is a beautiful mansion here in Nashville. And we looked at art. We went through the garden together. And then I brought her home. Her father said at that, and she was in her 20s. When I brought her home to her father, he said, I've never seen you any happier than you are now, because you found somebody, and I did too, that had my likes. I'm not pretending to be somebody that I'm expected to be for you. I am me, you are you, and we clicked. So it's like, you're not putting on a facade. You're not being who you're not. You are who you are, and you're accepted for who you are. So you find somebody that shares that love and interest with you. You're not being fake, you're genuine. So it will come to you. I'm not that person that I think the girl wants me to be. I am who I am, and she's who she is. And we both like each other, love each other. So
Howard, give us social media links.
It's Howard Wiggins Facebook, Howard Wiggins Twitter, and of course, movies, reviews, and more. And just follow me.
Stephanie, sorry, you were going to say something?
Well, I was going to riff on what Howard said. I have a chapter in the book, and in my coaching, I talk about these like 1-degree lies. And I give a silly example of being on a date, and the guy's like, I love Italian food. And secretly, you hate Italian food. You don't like it. You don't want pasta. But you say, oh, me too. And you agree. And then 1 degree at a time, as you're dating, you start like agreeing to things because you're trying to win them over, or you're saying like, this might be as good as it gets, or he or she's really good looking. I don't want to miss out on this. And before we know it, we're like 10, 20, 30 degrees off course because of all these little things we didn't represent authentically. So my whole thing is say, I don't like Italian, I don't like pasta, but I do like this. And maybe it turns out they love it too, or it's something that they can grow with you. But if you don't, to your point, Howard, if you don't show up authentically as you, it's not going to last, because eventually conflict will come in. There'll be a life stressor, and then you really show up as who you are, right? And then you're like, oh crap, what just happened?
I know a lot of single women, and single women will play dumb because they think that's what the guy wants. Yeah. And if you're pretending to be somebody you're not, then you're not going to draw the kind of guy that would respect your power that you have as a woman, because you're playing like you're a dumb blonde or whatever.
Right.
It's like, be who you are and find that person who loves you for who you are. You're right. Absolutely.
Stephanie, give me social media links real quick.
Who, me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if you go to Instagram, I'm Stefani Seek Coach. My website has a ton of resources, stephanieseek.com. If you are listening to this audibly, Stefani is Stefani, Seek, Seek, like seek and you shall find your love, whatever you want. And then Facebook is the Love Compass.
Joe.
Cool. So Instagram is Profound Power Joe. My website is profoundpower.net. And Facebook is Joe Petroski. And my LinkedIn is Joe Petroski as well. And I'm having a special event for women on August 22nd. I'll have that advertised as well pretty soon. So thank you.
Yeah.
Carol?
You can find me at Carol Register on Facebook and LinkedIn, and at NeuroCoach Carol on Instagram. You can find me at Carol Register on Instagram as well. And I'd love to talk with you about closing that gap from 6 to 7 figures, but do it fast. I have really limited spots available. And so if you think this might be a good fit, reach out to me. I'll share the deets. We can find out if we're a good connection, a good fit. I love working with you, Stefani. It's absolutely amazing. And so excited to be here on Movie Reviews and More. And that reminds me, Brian, I want to give a shout out for Giving Tuesday to Better Vision for Children. That's another charity that helps prevent childhood blindness and supports the foster care system in California. And they're connected with the Easy Way Network.
And we are out of time. Got to thank everybody. And I always say this: have a good night tonight, a better day tomorrow. You see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours, because the world needs it. And it's always about love and energy and fulfilling that wonderful heart. We will see you next week.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.